Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. Gave my parents $50,000 in 1 year, and they used it to toast my sister on a yacht. They called me selfish when I stopped paying, but they never asked how I'd survived making those payments. I was their daughter when they needed money. Family should be wise you rest, not wise you bleed to feel worthy. I became a stranger the moment I stopped sending it. I spent over $50,000 in a year to help my parents, but in the end, I realized that money couldn't buy their love every week. I gritted my teeth and sent $11,000, convincing myself that when love becomes a currency, it's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. I was doing the right thing, that family is supposed to help each other, but no matter how hard I tried, it was never enough. They always had another's name to praise, another's person to favor. That person was Emily, my younger sister. Never. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Had to worry about money for even a single day in his life. He didn't have to do anything except marry a wealthy man. And just like that, he suddenly became the family's pride and joy. My parents praised his as if he had single-handedly. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. Built a happy family as if he were some financial genius, when in reality Emily had never earned a single penny on his own. And me, I worked myself to exhaustion, drained every last cent I had, only to be treated like a walking a family should be. Wise you rest, not wise you bleed to feel worthy. When my dad lost his job, my mom called me in the middle of the night, his voice frantic as if the world was about to end. Honey, your dad got laid off. We don't know what to do anymore. The house, the bills, the when love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. Electricity, the water, everything is piling up. If no one helps, we might have to sell the house. Is that this gripping my phone, my heart pounding. I didn't have much money. I had rent to pay, insurance, my car and student loans still hanging. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you over my head. But how could I say no when my mother was crying on the other end of the line? Mom, I'll send you the money. I won't let you lose the house. The very next day, the first $1,000 Vanny head from my account. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. At first I thought I was doing the right thing. Helping family is the right thing to do, isn't it? But then it became a bottomless pit. Every week, I would get messages from my mom. Ethan, things are a little tight this week. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. You send a bit more. Ethan, the electricity bill is really high this month. Can you help, Ethan? Sweetheart, we promise we'll pay you back. We just need a little help. And just like that, every penny I earned poured into that bottomless pit, while when love becomes a currency, it's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. I cut back on my spending, skipped my morning coffees, and didn't dare buy myself a new pair of shoes. Emily continued living lavishly in his husband's mansion. Every time I visited home, I had to listen to my mom and Leslie praise his due. No one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along. You see how smart Emily is. He married the right man. No worries in life, Ethan. Why don't you learn from your sister? Stop overworking yourself and find a good man to marry. I clenched my fists, swallowing the lump of anger rising in my "you don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan" throat. I didn't need anyone to provide for me. I stood on my own, 2 feet. I had done everything I could to help my parents, and yet they still didn't see me as something to be proud of. Things got worse when I started. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. Noticing strange signs. One day I got a message from my mom complaining that they didn't have enough money to buy medicine. Without thinking twice, I sent them another $200. But just 2 days later, I was scrolling through Instagram and saw Emily's latest post, "When love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks." A picture with my parents on a yacht, a luxury yacht. My heart pounded. I opened the photo, staring at their beaming faces. They were laughing, raising champagne glasses on the deck, while I, the one who had been sending them every hard-earned dollar, was when love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks, stressing over my own bills. My mom had just told me they couldn't afford medicine yet. Less than 48 hours later, they were on a fancy yacht. A cold rage swelled inside me. Maybe I had been a fool all along. I stared at my family. Should be wise you rest. Not was you bleed to feel worthy. Phone screen my parents. The same people who had been crying on the phone last week telling me they couldn't afford basic necessities. We now standing on a yacht holding champagne, smiling under the sun and worst. Of all Emily was this too. He was. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries, posing in a designer dress, his arm wrapped affectionately around my mother's shoulder, as if we were one big, happy, equal family, but in reality, I drained myself financially to support them, while he hadn't spent a single cent, and was still enjoying a family should be wise you rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy life of luxury. I lowered my phone, trying to steady my breathing. I needed to get to the bottom of this. I couldn't turn a blind eye any longer that evening. I called my mom. Mom, I'm planning a small dinner at my place this when love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks week. Just family. Are you and Dad free? My mother's voice was hesitant. Oh, Ethan, I don't know. Your Fathis and I aren't feeling well. We've been exhausted all week, aching all over. I froze. Not feeling. Well, they had just been on a yacht. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries trip with Emily. And now they were claiming they had been exhausted all week. Anger flared inside me, but I kept my voice calm. Then I'll stop by, bring some food and medicine for you. My mother's quickly responded, his tone slightly tense. No. When love becomes a currency, it's only a matter of time before the balance breaks don't come. I don't want you to catch anything if you want to help. Just send me a little money for medicine. I bit my lip. Money again. It was always about money. How much, I asked, pretending not to suspect anything. Just around. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. $300. Once we're feeling better, we'll come visit you. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me all right. I'll send it right away. I ended the call, but instead of transferring the money, I grabbed my car keys. I needed the truth from them. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. I didn't go straight to my parents' house. I needed confirmation first. I drove to Mr. Harrison's house, the neighbor who lived right next door to my parents. He was a retired teacher who spent his afternoons tending to his garden. I parked in front. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan of his house and walked up to the gate. Hi, Mr. Harrison. How have my parents been lately? I asked casually, trying to keep my emotions in check. Mr. Harrison looked up, resting both hands on his cane as he squinted at me. Oh, no one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along. Just got back yesterday. Seemed like they had a great time. My stomach clenched. Just got back. I tried to sound nonchalant. I thought they had been home all week. Mr. Harrison chuckled. Oh no, they were on a trip with Emily and his husband. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. I think they went to Florida a few days ago. They even asked me to feed their fish while they were gone. It felt like a bucket of ice water had been dumped. Over my head they had lied. Not only had they tricked me, some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you into sending them money, but they had also ignored my calls the entire trip. I forced a stiff smile. Thanks, Mr. Harrison. I have to go now. I turned on my heels and walked away. My heart pounding in my chest enough I wasn't going. Family should be wise you rest. Not was you bleed to feel worthy to let this slide. The next morning I drove straight to my parents' house. Their car was parked in the driveway from the outside. Everything looked the same. Just an ordinary quiet house with no signs of luxury, but I knew the truth. I knocked. No one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along. On the door. My Mothis opened it, his eyes lighting up when he saw me. Ethan, I wasn't expecting you. Why didn't you call first so I could prepare? I stared at his nausea rising in my throat, at the falseness in his voice. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Just wanted to check on you and Dad. I stepped inside. The house was spotless, too spotless, like they had just come back from a vacation, which of course they had. I glanced around on the dining table. A few suitcases were still unpacked. When love becomes a currency, it's only a matter of time before the balance breaks wide. Brimmed hat rested carelessly on a chair, the exact same one Emily had worn in his Instagram photo. I turned back to my Muthus. So how was the trip, Mom? The smile on his face stiffened. What? Trip? I let out a cold laugh. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. The trip to Florida on the yacht with Emily. You know the trip wise you lied to me about being sick so I'd send you more money. My Muthus's face flued with embarrassment. I crossed my arms. Waiting at that moment, my Fadis stepped out. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Of the kitchen staring at me. Ethan, what kind of tone is that? Watch your attitude. I let out a cold chuckle. Watch my attitude. I've sent you over $50. Zero in a year. I've lost sleep worrying about you struggling. Meanwhile, you were on vacation. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Sipping champagne, lying to me just to get more money. My Muthus quickly interjected. You're blowing this out of proportion. Can't your parents take a break? I clenched my fists. A break? You told me to send money because you couldn't afford medicine. You didn't. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Even tell me you were going away. Why? Don't I have the right to know my father? He folded his arms, his voice cold. We don't have to report everything we do to you. I nodded, feeling my heart grow colder with every passing second. Then when love becomes a currency, it's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. I don't have to send you another dime. I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and right in front of them, I can know all my recurring transfers. My Muthus pained. Ethan, don't do this. We need that money. I shoved my phone. No one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along. Into my pocket, my eyes sharp as knives. Then ask Emily. I've had enough. And with that, I turned on my heel and walked out, leaving their desperate pleas and frantic voices behind. For the first time in my life, I felt like I had. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure, no control. I slammed my car door shut, taking a deep breath to steady myself. But nothing could cool the rage boiling inside me. My parents had deceived me. Not only had they lied about needing money, but they had shamelessly enjoyed a luxurious life. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan, using the very money I had worked myself to the bone to earn, and now when caught they were playing the victims. No, I wasn't going to let them get away with this. I pewed open the door and walked into the house without knocking. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. I knew this house too well. The familiar scent of my Muthus's cooking, the old couch wise I used to spend hours watching movies, as a kid. But now that feeling was gone. I no longer felt like this was my home. My Muthus family should be wise you rest, not wise you bleed to feel worthy. Looked up from the kitchen table, his eyes flashing with worry when he saw me walk back in. Ethan, why are you back? I strode straight into the living room, my voice ice cold. You lied to me. He quickly looked away, but I didn't. Family should be wise. You rest, not wise you bleed to feel worthy. Let his escape. You said you weren't feeling well, but in reality, you were sipping cocktails on a yacht. You asked for money, for medicine, but it was really for a vacation with Emily. You say I'm family, but you've never treated me like one. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. My Muthus stood up, crossing his arms. You're overreacting, Ethan. It was just a short trip. I don't understand why you're so angry. I let out a bitter laugh. You don't understand. Fine, let me spell it out for you. I pulled out my phone. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Opened my banking app and scrolled through my list of transactions for the past year. I've sent you over 50 Sururo. You told me you were struggling, that I was your only hope. Meanwhile, Emily, the daughter you worship, hasn't given you a single penny. And when love becomes a currency, It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. Now you're telling. Me! I'm overreacting, my fair. This stepped out of the bedroom, his voice deep and cold. Ethan, don't talk to your muthus like that. I turned to him, my voice sharp as a blade, and how exactly should I talk to his? Should no one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along? I stay silent and keep sending money without question. Should I pretend nothing happened? My faith is folded his arms, his face unreadable. We don't have to explain every dollar we spend to you. A bitter smirk crept onto my lips. Then I don't have. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure to keep funding you. Edith, the room fell. So silent. I could hear the clock ticking on the wall. My Marthus's face went pale. Ethan, you can't do this. I held up my phone, scrolled to my automatic transfers, and canceled every single one, right? Family should be wise you rest. Not was you bleed to feel worthy in front of them. I can't watch me one tap every dollar they had been expecting from me gone my far. He gritted his teeth, his eyes dark with frustration. You're being selfish. You're just mad that we didn't invite. You on the trip, aren't you? No one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along. This is just jealousy over Emily. I froze. A fire erupted in my chest. I took a step closer, looking him dead in the eye. Jealousy, I let out a hollow, icy laugh. Do you have any idea how hard I worked for that money? It's not selfish to protect your peace. When giving has turned into erasure while you were vacationing. I was working overtime while you were praising Emily. I was giving up so much to help you, and after everything you tell me, I'm just jealous. My mother's cut in. You're being too sensitive. Ethan, we just wanted to have. No one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along a little. Fun. Why do you have to make this such a big deal? I took a deep breath because you turned me into an at. No one said a word. I clenched my fists, trying to steady my voice. You need someone to take. No one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along. Care of you, fine. Emily is perfect. Isn't he? Let us do it. My Muthus flinched. Emily can't. Oh, why not? He lives in a mansion, has a rich husband, travels without a care in the world. He's your golden child, isn't he? So, why no one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along? Can't he help you? My Fathus's face darkened with anger. Do you really want to cut ties with your family? I stared at him. No. You did that a long time ago. I'm just realizing it now. My mother's eyes welled up with tears. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. Going to regret this. Ethan family is supposed to help each other. I narrowed my eyes. No mom family is supposed to respect and love each other, not use them. I turned around and walked out, leaving behind my Marthus desperate calls and my Fathus's some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised. You cold stare. For the first time, I felt relieved to finally say what had been weighing on my chest. I had barely stepped into my house when my phone started buzzing. Non-stop, Mom, Dad, Emily. They kept calling as if I had committed some unforgivable. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you crime. I didn't need to guess what they wanted to say. Pleading guilt, tripping, maybe even threats. But I didn't care anymore. I had endured enough. I flipped my phone face down on the table, closed my eyes, and took a deep breath. But before, it's not selfish. To protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. I could regain my composure. Loud, knocking pounded at my door. My parents. No way. I stood up, walked to the door, and peed through the peephole. Emily, and behind his, my parents stood with their arms crossed, their faces tight with anger. I opened. No one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along the door, but didn't let them in. What are you doing, I asked, my voice void of warmth. Emily smirked, folding his arms as if he was talking to someone beneath his. I could ask you the same thing, Ethan. What the hell do when love becomes a currency? It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks you think you're doing. I let out a small chuckle. Doing what I should have done a long time ago. Emily's eyes narrowed. You mean, cutting off Mom and Dad? You're so petty, Ethan, all this over not. Being invited on a trip, I clenched. No one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along. My fists, but kept my voice calm, no. Because they used me for a year, lied to me over and over again, and now that I'm no longer their financial puppet, they sent you to convince me to change my mind. My fat. This scoffed Ethan. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. You're being disgraceful. I turned to him, my expression blank. You think standing up for myself is disgraceful, then so be it. Emily let out a mocking laugh. Oh, come on, Ethan, you're not that tough. You're just throwing a tail tantrum. We're family, you, when love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. Can't do this to Mom and Dad. He stepped forward, about to push his way in, but I raised a hand to stop his. Don't step inside. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief, as if he couldn't fathom that. I would dare to block his you. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Can't be serious. He won't last without helping them. A voice spoke up behind me. Wrong, he's learning how to live without being used by his family. Natalie, he stepped out of the living room, arms crossed, his eyes filled with defiance. Emily sneered. Oh, no one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along. Great. Now your girlfriend thinks he can interfere in family matters. I saw Natalie's expression darken. Family don't make me laugh. Your parents see Ethan as nothing but a human ATM. They don't actually care about. His Emily clicked his tongue, shaking his head. You family should be wise you rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy. Don't understand anything. Family supports each other in hard times as you don't know anything about us. Natalie stepped forward, his voice dropping into a dangerously low tone. Do you understand the difference between helping and being used? Or are you just another leech living when love becomes a currency? It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks off this people's money like your parents. Emily flinched, his face turning red. Don't you dare insult me. I saw Natalie's hand twitch, and in the blink of an eye he grabbed a fistful of Emily's. Hair! Emily shrieked, struggling, but Natalie didn't let go. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan right away. Listen to me, Emily. You and your parents will never take advantage of Ethan again if you show up his one more time. Don't expect me to be polite. Emily gasped when Natalie finally released his. He staggered back, his eyes blazing. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure with fury and humiliation. Are you insane? Emily shouted, rubbing his head. My Muthis lunged forward, his voice shrill with outrage. Ethan, you're letting your girlfriend attack your own sister. Have you lost your mind? I crossed my arms, staring at them. No. Emily deserves some heartbreaks. Don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you it. My Fathis took a step forward, his voice seething with anger. You need to control your girlfriend. He just assaulted our daughter. I laughed. Oh, and what about Emily barging into my home, insulting me? And demanding my money? That's fine with you. Silence, some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. I took a slow breath, my voice icy, and listened carefully. This is the last time we will ever speak. Don't come to my house from now on. I owe this family nothing. Emily's eyes burned with fury, his lips trembling. Family should be wise you rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy. You regret this, Ethan. You come crawling back begging Mom and Dad for help. I met his gaze without a flicker of doubt. Never. Emily gritted his teeth, spun on his heel, and stormed off. My parents followed quietly, their faces rigid with anger. When I used to think loyalty meant endurance, now I know it means boundaries. The door slammed shut. I felt lighter than I had in years, but I knew this wasn't over. My parents wouldn't let this go. Emily wouldn't accept defeat so easily. And I wasn't wrong. Just a few days later, they returned, this time with backup when love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. I was sitting on my couch scrolling through my phone when furious knocking echoed through my apartment. I didn't even need to check the peephole to know who it was. I opened the door. Emily. And Dan, his husband, loomed behind his broad-shouldered. And no one prepares you for the day you realize your love has been transactional all along, intimidating like... He's to teach me a lesson. Emily crossed his arms, his lips curling into a sneer. So you really think you can just walk away from this family that easily? I leaned against the doorframe, crossing my arms. I don't when love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. Think I know? Emily's eyes flared with anger. You don't get to cut off mom and dad. You think you can just abandon your responsibilities. Family is forever. Ethan. I smirked. A family that exploits each other. This isn't a family at all. Dan stepped forward. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. His voice low and threatening. You should rethink this, Ethan. I stared straight at him, unflinching. Yeah, and what if I don't? His lips curled into a smug grin. Then I'll make you regret it. Natalie stepped out from behind me, standing right by. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. My side, his eyes razor sharp. Oh, and how exactly? Are you planning to do that? Hit a woman? Pathetic? Dan scoffed, but I saw his fists clench. He took another step forward, but I didn't give him the chance. I struck first my fist. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. Connected with his jaw, sending him staggering back. Emily shrieked, Ethan, are you crazy? Dan stumbled, his eyes wide with shock, but I wasn't done. My second punch slammed into his gut, knocking the wind out of him. He doubled over, coughing, clutching his stomach. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. His face contorted in pain. Emily rued forward, grabbing him, his eyes burning with hatred. You just made a huge mistake. I exhaled sharply, my fists still clenched. No, you made a mistake thinking I was still your family's puppet. Emily bared his teeth. Looking, some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you like a cornered animal. All right, Ethan. If you want war, we'll have war. I let out a cold, amused laugh. No, Emily, you've already lost. You just don't realize it yet. He hauled Dan up, the two of them stumbling away from my porch. Family should be wise you rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy. I watched them disappear into the night. I wasn't afraid they were losing control, and they knew it. 1 week later, I thought it was over. But then I got a call from Mr. Martin. My parents' neighbor Ethan got a minute. This is something you family should be wise you rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy might want to hear. I gripped my phone, sensing something was off. Yes, of course, what is it? Mr. Martin chuckled lightly. Well, last night your parents had a nasty argument. The whole neighborhood could hear it. I frowned. What were they fighting about, you? Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you and Emily. I sat up straight. Emily, what happened? Mr. Martin lowered his voice, as if someone might overhear. They demanded. He started supporting them financially since you cut them off, but he refused. I was silent. You know what, Ethan, he yelled at them. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan, saying he wasn't a bank and that your parents should take responsibility for their own lives instead of leeching off their children. I laughed. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Mr. Martin chuckled. Sure does. I guess he enjoyed the luxury, but he didn't want the burden. Family should be wise you rest, not wise you bleed to feel worthy you carried. He stormed out that night after tearing them apart. I let out a long breath. It was over. My parents lost both their children in the SP of a week, no more. Ethan to provide for them. No more. Emily to cling to when love becomes a currency. It's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. Just the two of them sitting in an empty house, realizing they had destroyed everything with their own hands. I set my phone down on the table and leaned back in my chair. Natalie walked out of the kitchen carrying 2 cups of coffee. Any it's not. Selfish to protect your peace, when giving has turned into erasure news. I took one, sipped it, then smiled faintly. My parents just lost their last child. Natalie raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? I placed the cup down, looking at his with more relief than I had ever felt before. Emily left them. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. They have no one left to leech off. Natalie chuckled. Well, so even their golden princess couldn't take it. Any more? I nodded. He was only ever interested in luxury, never actually helping them. Now he's turned his back on them too. Natalie leaned back, narrowing. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries, his eyes at me, so. Do you feel sorry for them? I thought for a moment. Then I shook my head, not one bit. They deserved this 1 week later. I thought that after Emily left, my parents would figure things out. But I was some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you wrong. My phone rang non-stop all morning. At first I ignored it, but when I saw my father's name on the screen, I decided to pick up Ethan. His voice was slower than usual. I crossed my arms, leaning against. The kitchen counter. My tone. Family should be wise you rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy. Calm. What is it? Why are you calling me? A long silence. I could hear him sigh heavily. I'm not calling to ask for money, it's about Emily. I narrowed my eyes. What about his? He hesitated for a moment before finally speaking. His husband. Family should be wise. You rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy. Divorced his. Dan kicked his out. He has no wise to go. So he came back highs? I raised an eyebrow, really. My this sighed. He's completely broken, Ethan. He's lost everything. I let out a small, emotionless laugh. Lost. Everything you mean? He lost. The no one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along, rich man. He clung to all these years or the luxurious life he never built for himself. Ethan. His voice dropped, almost pleading. I cut him off. And what exactly do you want me to do? Comfort his, tell his. I forgive his. He needs family, should be wise you rest. Not wise you bleed to feel worthy. Someone to talk to, you're his sister. I gripped my phone tightly. Have you forgotten, Dad? I stopped being his sister a long time ago. 1 week earlier. Emily lasted exactly 3 days before he exploded after I refused to fund them. My parents turned. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure to his demanding financial help. You've got to be kidding me, Emily snapped. My parents froze. My Maud wrung his hands, trying to keep his voice soft. Honey, you know we need someone to help. Emily laughed, but this was no humor in it. Help. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. You want me to help. Why should I? Why should I take on the burden that Ethan was stupid enough to carry? My fathers frowned. Because we're family. Emily, for the first time in his life, Emily didn't care about the word family. No one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along. Used. Ethan. For years, and now that he's cut you off, you turn to me. I'm not as stupid as Ethan. My Martha's eyes widened, his voice shaking. Emily. You can't say that. Emily stood up, his face red with rage. Oh, I can't. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan gotten too used to having someone take care of you without putting in any effort. I'm not an ATM and I don't owe you anything. My father slammed his hand on the table. You can't just abandon us like this. Emily let out a bitter. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. Laugh. Abandon you. I'm just doing what you did to Ethan all these years. He grabbed his purse, his voice seething with fury. Figure it out yourself. The door slammed shut. Emily left that night, leaving my parents in an empty house. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. Phone on speaker, so Natalie could hear. He crossed his arms, watching me with curiosity as my father continued. Ethan, you don't understand. Emily is truly devastated. Dan threw his out the second he stopped being valuable to him. He has no money, no home. No one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional all along. Nothing. He can't even go back to his friends because they only cared about Dan's money. I leaned back, taking a sip of coffee. What a shame, my father's hesitated, clearly unsettled by my indifferent tone. Ethan, can you just go see his once just, I used to think, loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries to talk. I smirked, shaking my head, even though he couldn't see me. No, he sounded like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Ethan, I cut him off. Do you remember what Emily used to say when I was supporting you all those years? Family should be wise you rest, not wise you bleed to feel worthy. Silence, I continued. He called me stupid for giving you money. He told me I'd regret cutting you off. He stood at my doorstep insulting me, saying I had no right to refuse this family. And now he's back empty-handed. Unwelcome, and he expects family should be wise you rest, not wise you bleed to feel worthy me to be generous. I laughed a cold, hollow laugh. No, Dad, I'm not doing that. I heard him let out a heavy sigh on the other end of the line. So you really don't need this family anymore? I closed my eyes, feeling I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. Relief spread through me. I did that a long time ago. Dad, you just never wanted to accept it. I hung up. Natalie raised an eyebrow at me. You okay? I set my phone down on the table, taking a deep breath more than ever. Some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you. My parents had no one left to rely on. Emily had realized he was just another disposable pawn once. He lost his value, and me, I was finally free from all of them. 3 years later. I never thought I'd return to that house. 3. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan. Years ago, I walked away from my parents, leaving them to deal with the consequences of their choices. Emily had left too, when he realized he couldn't use my parents to secure an easy life. They lost both their children in a single week. That no one prepares you for the day. You realize your love has been transactional. All along the time I felt no regret. I had spent my entire life chasing their approval, only to be met with disregard and exploitation. But over the years I came to understand something: they weren't entirely evil. They were just lost. And now, after all these, when love becomes a currency, it's only a matter of time before the balance breaks. Years. I stood before that old door, wondering if it was ever truly a place I could call home. I knocked, the door opened, and my Mathis appeared. He stared at me, his eyes widening in disbelief. Ethan, I swallowed the lump in my throat. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. I mom before I could react. He lunged forward, wrapping his arms around me as if afraid I'd disappear. I heard his sobbing against my shoulder. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I stood still for a moment, then gently hugged his back. I know some heartbreaks don't come from partners. They come from the people who raised you, Faye. He stepped out from the living room. His hair had turned grayer than I remembered when he saw me. He froze, then took a deep breath and walked forward. Ethan. I looked at him, and for the first time in years, I didn't see anger. You don't owe people who see your pain as a payment plan or stubborn pride in his eyes. Only regret. I'm sorry. 3 words, the ones I had waited for all these years. I smiled softly. I know, Dad. We sat down in the living room, where I once had happy memories before everything fell apart. This no one prepares you for. The day you realize your love has been transactional all along was no blame, no resentment. Just a family trying to mend the past after a while. I hesitated before asking, "Why's is Emily?" My Mathis gave a small, sad smile. He's changed a lot after losing everything. He realized he couldn't rely on others forever. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. He picked himself up, found a job, and learned how to stand on his own. I was surprised, really. My Mathis nodded. He's always wanted to talk to you, but was too afraid. He thought you'd never forgive his. I sighed, then pulled out, "My family should be wise you rest." Not wise you bleed to feel worthy phone. I'll call his. My mother's, smiled, tears streaming down his face. Thank you, Ethan. The phone rang a few times before Emily's voice came through. Hello? I took a deep breath. Emily, it's me. A long silence, then I heard a shaky breath on. It's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. The other end, you're really calling me. I smiled. Yes, we need to talk. 3 years of distance, of wounds, of misunderstandings. But in the end we found our way back to each other's family isn't perfect, but if everyone is willing to change, it's not selfish to protect your peace when giving has turned into erasure. They can still find their way home. Ethan's story is a powerful reminder about setting boundaries and self-worth. Sometimes the people we love most are the ones who exploit us the most, hiding their manipulation under the label of family. But no one is obligated. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries, to sacrifice themselves unconditionally, especially when that sacrifice is taken for granted. Ethan spent years learning that kindness should never be taken advantage of, and cutting off toxic relationships isn't selfish. It's the only way to protect on. Yet the greatest happiness came when Ethan, it's not selfish to protect your peace when giving is turned into erasure, chose to forgive and return, giving his family a second chance. What do you think of Ethan's story? If you were in his situation, would you continue to help cut ties, to protect yourself? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to. I used to think loyalty meant endurance. Now I know it means boundaries. Follow the channel for more real-life emotional stories about family and life.